Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our TOEIC unit for the month of December, and today we're talking about a filthy, disgusting, dirty office.
Uh-oh.
This could happen sometimes if you have some slobs who work alongside you. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to believe that people can be so filthy that they don't clean up after themselves. And, of course, if an office is dirty, if it isn't tidy, it's not going to be very efficient, not to mention all the roaches and mice you're going to have. People don't like mice or rats running around their office. They can scare people and they can spread disease and stuff like that. And, of course, prevention is better than cure, basically. So, yes, keep your office nice, clean, and tidy, and you shouldn't have those pests coming in there. But today we've got a conversation between Miranda and David talking about the office kitchen, which is a big mess, and they want to clean up the office so that people don't have to deal with the filth and disgusting conditions. So let's find out what this is all about. Let's read through the entire contents of our lesson right now. Miranda is in the office kitchen when David walks in.
Hi, David. Why are you washing your hands in here?
The men's bathroom on this floor has run out of soap. Although, to be honest, it never seems to have any soap at all.
I can sympathize. Our bathroom sometimes runs out as well. And we're frequently short on paper towels and toilet paper.
You've been employed here longer than me. Is this situation normal?
Well, our workplace hygiene leaves a lot to be desired. I've grown accustomed to it, but now that you bring it up, we should do something about it.
I agree. I don't like to gossip about my colleagues, but I've noticed that some people's desks are really messy. I've arrived at work in the morning and seen empty food containers from the previous day's lunch.
We should speak to someone in HR about creating a new hygiene policy.
You mean there isn't one? At my previous job, the rules for cleanliness were pretty clear, and anyone who wasn't doing their part was spoken to about their behavior.
I think the management here assumes people will be responsible enough to clean up after themselves. We're all adults after all.
I understand that some people are busy and don't have time to do a thorough job cleaning up. However, I suspect others are just lazy.
Either way, we should definitely take action.
Okay, the title for today's lesson is This Office Isn't Clean Enough. Maybe it's a little clean, but it's not clean enough. It needs to be cleaner. So Miranda is in the office kitchen when David walks in. Some offices are big enough to have their own kitchen where people can use the sink to wash their dishes, maybe make some tea or something like that, maybe even prepare a bowl of泡面, instant noodles or something like that. So they're having this conversation in the office kitchen. And Miranda begins the conversation.
She does. She says hi to David, and then she seems a little puzzled. She says, "Why are you washing your hands in here?" Yeah, so he goes on to explain that the men's bathroom on this floor has run out of soap, so there's no soap. So he went to the area that's designated as the kitchen in the office where there obviously is some hand soap, and he wants to use that. But then he says, although to be honest, and he's being very honest here, it never seems to have any soap at all. I know bathrooms like that.
Yeah, somebody's supposed to be responsible for keeping the soap dispensers stocked.
Yeah, filled.
Or to have a bar of soap in there. I think it's probably more sanitary to use the liquid soap. But in any case here, he goes to the men's bathroom, he uses the toilet, and he needs to wash his hands. But hey, there's no soap in there. How can you wash your hands without any soap? Using just water just won't do the trick. You need to have some decent soap to kill all the bacteria and make your hands nice and clean.
Kill the germs. That's what you're trying to do when you use soap and water. What does Miranda say? Well, she says, I can sympathize. People will say this as a response to someone who's been telling them things and It's kind of like, yeah, I understand what you mean. That's bad. I agree. It just means you agree with what they're saying. And perhaps you've even had the same experience yourself, so she can sympathize. Sometimes we give sympathy to people when they've been through a terrible time. Maybe there's been a death in the family, or maybe their pet has died, which is also very hard for people. Or maybe they lost their job, or they broke a leg. Lots of bad things can happen to people, and you want to be sympathetic to them. That's an adjective. But sympathize here is a verb. Oh, I can really sympathize with that, or sympathize with you. Yeah, so she says our bathroom sometimes runs out as well. I think we all have had experiences where our bathroom doesn't have soap, or it's run out, and we're just kind of forced to use water, which doesn't do anything. And she says, and we're frequently, quite a bit of the time, they're short on paper towels. If you're short on something, you lack that thing, you don't have enough of it. So you're short on paper towels and short on toilet paper. Don't say short in paper towels. I've heard that. But you have to say short on. You're short on something. I'm short on cash this week. I need to go to the ATM to get some more cash. Just short on cash. You can be short on patience if you are angry with someone and you start to yell because you have no more patience left. You can be short on a lot of things.
You certainly can. So sometimes they have a shortage of paper.
Yeah.
They lack paper towels and toilet paper in the bathroom. So maybe the custodian or something is responsible for that, but people use it too fast, and the custodian has to take care of many different bathrooms or something. Or maybe somebody in the office is responsible for that, and they haven't hired a custodian. I'm not quite sure what their problem is, but David says, you've been employed here longer than me. Is this situation normal? I did want to point out that you've probably read grammar books somewhere that say, you've been employed here longer than I. That might be the correct response.
It is.
But yeah, it is correct. We're supposed to teach correct English. But colloquially, most people will say me because me is usually at the end of an utterance. Give that to me. So you've been employed here longer than me. Even though this is technically incorrect, it's more common.
Well, you would never say give that thing to I.
Yeah, it sounds
that was kind
weird.
of your No, that's just wrong. But give that to me, or you've been employed here longer than I have. That's really the complete sentence. So it sounds fine if you use the verb, but when we cut it off, then it sounds weird. And it sounds weird to Americans, too. Most of us, if we're speaking, we tend to just say me in these sorts of situations. I have a client, though, that she always says I. And every time she says it, I think, ooh, that sounds wrong, but it's not. So, yeah, be careful with that one. So you can use this if you're just having a nice conversation with someone. Don't fret or get too upset about it. Now, David's asking Miranda, who's been an employee there longer, is this normal? Is this something that you've seen before? We often will say that to friends or colleagues who have more experience. Is this normal, or is that normal? Have you seen this before?
Yeah, David hasn't been at the office very long, obviously, so he's just beginning to experience this. Yes, has this been normal for some time? And, maybe I should start to prepare my own soap or something like that.
Sometimes you do, yeah.
Or my own toilet paper or whatever. And Miranda says, well, our workplace hygiene leaves a lot to be desired. So first of all, let's talk about hygiene here. That just means, a situation or conditions that actually make a place healthy, and it fights diseases and stuff like that. So if you have good dental hygiene, that means you brush your teeth often, you floss your teeth, you're taking good care of your teeth. So workplace hygiene could also be expressed as workplace cleanliness. But if you use the phrase leaves a lot to be desired, means, well, it needs to be improved. It's in a pretty sad shape.
And then she says, I've grown accustomed to it. If you're accustomed to something, it means you've seen it a lot, you're used to it. It's usual. It's a usual situation. It's not a normal or abnormal. We would say you can't say abnormal, but it's something that you see a lot. There's a famous song from a Broadway musical called I've Grown Accustomed to Her Face from My Fair Lady. You'll see that word right there. So, accustomed. And notice here, I have grown. Accustomed actually turns into an adjective here, or an adverb, but it's you've grown. You've had a lot of time to get used to something. I've grown accustomed to something.
I've gotten used to it, but now that you bring it up, now that you mention it, we should do something about it. Yes, this is a problem, and most people just say, well, something should be done about this, and then they go back to their work and they kind of forget about it. But here, Miranda wants to nip the problem in the bud. She wants to take care of this problem while they're talking about it. Yes, we should do something about it. Maybe we should take matters into our own hands.
Which means you don't wait for other people. You're proactive, which is a good thing to be at work, I must say. A little reminder, guys out there, please don't say aggressive. Use proactive. It's a lot more positive. Aggressive means someone's just about to hit you or start a fight.
They're being kind of pushy, actually.
Yeah, you don't want to be an aggressive person. You want to be a proactive person because that's positive. So he agrees. I don't like to gossip, he says. But he probably does gossip. But he's noticed that some people's desks are really messy. That's a good sign as to whether someone cares about cleanliness or not. Check out their desk. Is it a mess? Or does it just have a lot of papers and files? But if they also have empty containers that from food they've eaten or crumbs, from food that has dropped from their mouth. That's gross. And it attracts bugs. So don't do that. Messy just means not clean enough. It doesn't necessarily mean it's filthy. It sometimes just has a lot of stuff around that needs to be organized. If it's really gross and dirty, then yeah, use that word Tom used before. Filthy, which is really disgusting.
Yeah, filthy refers to the dirt and the stains and things like that. Messy emphasizes the fact that it's disorganized and things are not put away and it's a big mess. But it could be dirty too, but again, messy emphasizes the fact that it's disorganized. And here David goes on to say, I've arrived at work in the morning and seen empty food containers from the previous day's lunch. That is disgusting. If you leave stuff out like that, you're sure to attract ants, roaches, and rats. And who knows what else? Maybe bats or caterpillars or even some other really disgusting, creepy crawlies.
Maybe spiders.
Spiders, that was what I was thinking too. Most people are pretty scared of spiders. And maybe even snakes will come into your office as well. Dogs, cats, bears. You might even get a Formosan blue magpie flying in the window.
That would be nice. I want to mention here, it's a quick review. You can arrive at work. You can arrive home. I don't say I arrive at home. I arrive home or I go home. I go to work and I go to school, but we don't go to home. It's kind of tricky. Yeah. But don't use the, which is indefinite. No, it is a definite article in front of work, home, or school, unless it's not your school.
Right, so David arrives at work and sometimes he sees empty food containers like biendang he, bento boxes that are still kind of dirty. And that's all from the previous day's lunch. People were busy, they ate their lunch and they kind of forgot about their containers. Shame on them. And Miranda says, well, we should speak to someone in HR about creating a new hygiene policy or a policy for cleanliness. And HR, of course, is human resources. Some companies have that department, some don't. So I guess that's who you talk to if you want the office cleaned up.
You have to be a pretty big company to have an HR. But if you're smaller, and a lot of small companies, don't have an HR department, that's okay. You might have an office manager. My last job in New York, we had an office manager, but not an HR because we were a startup. We were a small company. So why not just take things into your own hands and, try to encourage your colleagues, your coworkers to be less messy and then maybe, make sure that the soap dispenser is always filled. You could do that on your own. Well, they're a pretty big company because Miranda suggests they go and talk to someone in HR who will create a new policy because we all want new policies. And he goes, you mean there isn't one? Meaning You don't already have a hygiene policy at this company? And he says at my previous job, the rules for cleanliness were pretty clear. And anyone who wasn't doing their part was spoken to about their behavior. So you'd get in trouble at his last job if you were a slob or really messy.
You'd be called into the boss's office and they would talk to you. They would probably maybe discipline you. They would insult you. They would make you get on your knees.
No.
And they would torture you.
He's kidding.
Maybe in some extreme cases they would do that, but usually not. But in any case, yes, David says it was better at his previous job. They did have a hygiene policy there. Miranda says, well, I think the management here assumes people will be responsible enough to clean up after themselves. So the management in this particular company probably thinks all the workers there are adults. They're grown up. They're not kids.
Right.
They should know this. They should be responsible enough to clean up after themselves. That's just common knowledge there. You're supposed to clean up after yourself.
Common sense.
Common sense, basically. You're not supposed to let other people clean up after you. It's kind of weird, though. Some people just don't get that, do they?
No. And, sometimes it's at home and you have roommates, perhaps if you're away at college. I had roommates who never did their own dishes. I guess they thought some magic fairy was going to arrive and suddenly wash the dishes for them. But I got tired of doing other people's dishes, let me tell you. Clean up after yourself just means if you made the trash or you made the mess, you clean it up. Don't wait for other people. So David says, I understand that some people are busy and don't have time to do a thorough job cleaning up. However, I suspect others are just lazy. Thorough means really precise and complete. You don't forget anything. You remember every little part of something that you've been assigned to do. You want somebody who is a really thorough worker. Maybe you have a paper you need to have edited. You want an editor who will be very thorough and not miss anything.
Yep, to be complete, basically. Gee, Tom, I'm making you write this paper again because you did not do a thorough job on it. It was quite messy. You did not provide proper references and things like that, for example. And David goes on to say, however, I suspect others are just lazy. Suspect means you think this is the case. You don't have proof of it. Maybe other people haven't said what they feel, but you just have this hunch, basically, that people are just lazy. And in a lot of cases, that turns out to be true.
Well, either way, it doesn't matter if it's the first situation or the second. We should definitely take action. Again, this phrase here, to take action, is really great if you're at work or maybe, even at home. Don't wait for other people to tell you what to do. If you take action, you are proactive and you go and get something done that you see needs to be done. It might not be your responsibility, but why not help out once in a while? Right now, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to talk about some of these useful expressions, and we also have a discussion question.
Hello, my name is Shelby. 今天的主题要讨论办公室卫生。Miranda 和 David 在办公室厨房对话。一开始的时候 ，David 回答 Miranda 的询问，为何在这里洗手 ？David 说 ，The men's bathroom on this floor has run out of soap. 这个楼层男厕的肥皂已经用光了。Run out of 用光的钱就是 run out of money。Miranda 就回答，我可以感同身受。I can sympathize. Sympathize 是同情、了解或支持的意思，后面经常配合 with 加名词。我同情你就是 I sympathize with you。同一个回应中 ，Miranda 又说第三句 ，And we are frequently short on paper towels and toilet paper。我们经常缺乏擦手纸和卫生纸。Be short 欠缺，不是矮的意思。欠缺什么，在东西前面加个 on。例如，他是个好人，但不够聪明，就是欠缺头脑的意思。He is a nice guy, but short on brains。接着 David 又问，这是正常现象吗？ Miranda 就回答 ，Well, where our workplace hygiene leaves a lot to be desired. Hygiene 卫生，个人卫生就是 personal hygiene。公共卫生 public hygiene。 Desired 想要的 leave a lot to be desired 表示大有进步空间，也可以说 leave much to be desired。有人就评论 Batman 蝙蝠侠的创作者之一 Neil Adams， 说他是一位 amazing artist， 但是his writing skills leave much to be desired， 写作技巧还有改善的空间。紧接着 Marinda 又说 I've grown accustomed to it, but now that you bring it up, we should do something about it. Grow accustomed to 习惯于，也可以改成 be accustomed to。例如，我们习惯晚上10点才吃饭，就可以说 We are accustomed to eating dinner at 10 p.m. Accustom 也可以用主动形态，后面加反身代名词。我们要赶快习惯新软体，英文就可以说 We should accustom ourselves to the new software soon. Now that you bring it up, now that 是副词连接词，表示既然。Bring up 提出某件事情，晚餐的时候别提工作，我们就可以说 Don't bring up the work at dinner. 其实它还有其他几种意思，例如顺便带来、呕吐。同学最熟悉的应该是抚养幼儿或动物长大，例如我出事了，谁来抚养我小孩？ Who will bring up my children if something happens to me? David 听到后回答，在 David 第3个回应第一句 I agree. I don't like to gossip about my colleagues, but I've noticed that some people's desks are really messy. 我同意，我不喜欢说我同事的闲话，但是我注意到有些人的办公桌真的很乱。Gossip 说三道四，加 about 对什么说三道四，而 messy 凌乱的 mess 杂乱。他的房子总是又脏又乱，用名词来表示的话就是 His house is always in a mess. 接着我们到对话后面 David 理解大家都很忙，无暇管理好卫生，可是语气中仍有其他的想法。在对话倒数第2句 David 说 I suspect others are just lazy. 我怀疑其他人只是懒惰。 Suspect 猜想怀疑，后面加 that 子句，也可以写成 suspect somebody of something。 所以 David 说的这句话也可以用这样表示 I suspect others of being lazy. 另外，如果重音移到前面变成 suspect， 是名词嫌疑犯的意思。警方已经发布嫌疑犯的相片。 The police have issued a photo of the suspect. 最后 Marinda 表示，我们都该采取行动。 We should definitely take action. Take action 采取行动。中文要表达做些什么，有人会直接说 do something， 虽然也很好，不过在正式场合 take action 会更合适。另外 take action 还有起作用，药要2小时后才会起作用。 The medicine will not take action for 2 hours. 以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, we've got some useful expressions here to teach you, and this is all about a request. If you're asking someone else to do something, these are some grammatical patterns that you can use. The first one is, it is essential that office trash cans be emptied regularly. It is essential, it is necessary, this should be done.
Yeah, or, we must empty our trash cans regularly. If it's a request, it's usually pretty direct. They're not saying, if you'd like to do this. It's usually, you need to do this, go do it. Here's the second one. Please do not leave any food in the fridge over the weekend. I think this happens a lot at companies. You get busy and you forget there's food that you meant to eat earlier that week and just maybe you had too much or you decided to go out with your friends and eat instead of eating what you brought. But that food gets gross in the refrigerator, so don't forget that food that's left in the refrigerator.
It can grow mold. It can be disgusting, and somebody has to clean it up.
Yeah.
And eventually it'll be too full. And here's the third request. Food scraps should not be left in the sink.
Oh, yeah.
Scraps are pieces of food that are left over, like if you eat a pai gu fan, for example, the bone will be a scrap there. Nobody can eat the bone, but it's still left over. It's a food scrap. So don't put it in the sink. You need to dispose of it properly. You need to throw it away or send it out with the kitchen scraps when the garbage truck passes by. That's disgusting. It can still attract pests.
Oh, yeah, that's when the cockroaches come, guys.
They love that stuff.
They love that stuff. So here's our discussion question. Tom, you can go for this first. Would you describe yourself as a really clean and tidy person? Explain your answer.
Unfortunately, I think I'm kind of messy. I don't like things to be too organized. It seems like that's like a scientific laboratory or something like that. I think things should be more spontaneous, but I do understand things can be messy, but they can't be dirty, okay?
Oh, yeah, there's a difference.
You got to get rid of those germs, and you can't give food for ants, roaches, and rats. That's a no-no. You can be messy, you can be disorganized, but you can't be dirty. How about you?
Well, I have my own apartment, and I've noticed that if I don't do the dishes every single night before I go to bed, sometimes, that attracts those little bugs. So, yeah, that's important. Being clean is really important to me. I feel better if my desk is organized. I get more done. But if it's all messy and there are too many papers and I don't know where to find something, I'm not as productive. I don't get as much done. So I like to organize my things. Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Thank you all for joining us. And again, next time we're going to continue talking about this subject, keeping the office hygienic. Please join us then. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.